More Minnesota schools are reporting guns being found on campus. A new Minnesota Star Tribune report says nearly 200 have been found in the last few years. That's a sharp increase that's raising questions about what's driving the trend and how districts are responding. Star Tribune reporter Mara Klecker worked on this story and she joins me now. Mara, good morning. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So in this report, you found that nearly 200 guns, most of them handguns, have been confiscated from Minnesota students since 2021. What's driving that spike?
Yeah, that's really a post-pandemic spike. So that was the first year, right, that students came back to class after distance learning. And we know that the pandemic, really changed things for both students and all of us. More guns were purchased in the first year of the pandemic. Crime went up in that first year. And I think that really ended up affecting students. And we, in the reporting, heard from researchers that talked to, students involved in crime and carrying guns on them themselves. And from those voices, we found out that many of those kids felt unsafe traveling to and from school, so felt that they needed to have, a gun on them.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's kind of a shocking discovery. Do schools believe that more guns are actually being brought in, or are they just getting better at finding them?
It's hard to really decipher if it's a both and or a one or the other. From my reporting, it seems like it's probably a both and. So more guns out there, potentially more guns coming in, but also because this is so top of mind for schools, they're getting better at detecting them and finding them. So that uptick, that spike is probably both more guns and we're finding more as well.
I want to definitely touch on finding the guns, but first I want to ask, were there any trends in where this is happening, like urban versus rural schools, or is this kind of this increase showing up across the board?
Yeah, so this report just looked at statewide numbers that are collected. So each district has to report dangerous incident report. And then those are compiled each year in a larger report that goes to the legislature. And those are overall state numbers, and a category of that are dangerous weapons. So these numbers here are statewide. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about, where this is specifically, but in looking at the numbers that go to the legislature, those are across the board in Minnesota.
Okay, and so looking at this increase in numbers, what are schools doing differently now? You talked about metal detectors and mental health support. Are those efforts showing any results yet?
Yeah, they're doing a lot, and some of it is different, yes, but they have also been doing this for years. So, the story kind of came out of the response after the Annunciation school shooting, kind of asking what schools are doing differently. And the schools are frankly saying, we're doing this every single day. This isn't a response to a specific incident in our community. But it's a combination of what they kind of consider hardening solutions, right? The weapons detection systems, safe and secure entrances, making sure people have to badge in, guests and visitors to a school have to badge in and show ID. And then also the softer, more prevention oriented solutions where they're really focused on building relationships with kids, both so they can identify kids that maybe have weapons or are involved in violence, but also so that they can get more tips from other students. Typically, students know about these things before school leaders, if a kid is carrying a weapon into school. So it's so many things. The schools are trying all kinds of both preventative and responsive solutions.
And you even talked about how the students feel like this is normal now. It may have started just at the beginning of the year, but it's the metal detector systems, but they feel like, okay, this is a normal thing now.
Yeah, so visited Tartan High School in Oakdale. And they recently installed these weapons detection systems. They're actually a little bit more complicated than just a metal detector, but I won't get into the technology. But after, the first couple days, maybe first week of school, they just kind of see this as part of the routine. They walk in with their backpacks, they hold their Chromebooks above their head and walk through this detection system. It's just part of the way that they start their morning.
Wow. Yeah. When you talk to educators, law enforcement, for this school year, what do they say worries them the most?
I actually haven't gotten, direct response from any lawmakers on these numbers, but granted, they see them, every year as part of the legislative report. Of course, after the Annunciation school shooting, everybody was asking that. What are we doing differently? What are we gonna double down on? And I hear a lot of school leaders really say more mental health supports in schools, but also that has to be a community-wide effort, right? This can't all fall on the shoulders of school leaders that are already doing so much for our kids. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mara, anything else you wanted to mention this morning?
I guess I'll just reiterate the point that, school leaders really feel the weight of this. They're trying to protect the kids and make sure that kids are feeling safe when they come to school because of course they can't learn if they don't feel safe. So in doing these interviews for this report, it really struck me how intensely they feel the responsibility and the weight of ensuring that kids are safe at school. And also their second point is that takes community-wide efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Mara, thank you so much for reporting this and with talking with me today. It's an incredible story, and you can read it for yourself. The full report is on startribune.com.